All right, a lot going on in the UFC women's bantamweight division right now, so I wanted to check in and get an update from the number 3 ranked 35er in the world as we welcome Aspen Ladd to the program. Aspen, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here. First and foremost, we haven't seen you fight since your victory over Yana Kunitskaya. It was December of 2019. You had 2 fights booked last year, one with Julianna Pena. She withdrew due to an injury. Plus, the event was canceled, and then you were booked in June with Sarah McMahon. Then you injured your knee, tore your ACL and MCL. So I'm curious how the recovery is going. How are you feeling around 9 or 10 months into this thing?
Well, technically, I had 3 fights booked. I was supposed to fight Juliana twice, and she pulled out due to injury. And then the second time, I don't know. And then they rebooked me with Sarah. And then we all know what happened before that fight, unfortunately. So I think I'm about 8 months post-op right now, and I'm feeling great. I was just at the PI. Everything came back well. So we're easing back into full training. I should be good to go by July.
So are you you say easing in, are you technically cleared, but you're just kind of slow pacing, or is it still a process to get to that point?
So yeah, I'm cleared. My knee, the joint is good. We're just easing in because everything else around it gets a little bit tweaked and pulled at this point. But the actual joint is doing great. It's just getting back into it the right way so I don't have any more hiccups.
Living where I live here in Massachusetts, there is hiking everywhere. I'm up in the Berkshires and I live in the mountains. So, I mean, you've been using hiking a lot. I've been seeing on Instagram and social media to aid with your rehab. How beneficial has that been for you and your furry friends as well?
It's extremely beneficial. I suspect the only reason that my knee didn't blow out completely is because the density of muscle I have there from the years and years of hiking. But just getting back into it 6 weeks after surgery, for example, it was so bad because I couldn't do much of anything. So it was a 40-minute mile, but now I'm back to what it was previously. And it's just a huge mental thing, mental, physical. You just feel better.
Your name obviously has been coming up quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, Aspen, amongst the fans, because Amanda Nunes submits Megan Anderson at UFC 259. And, there's a lot of questions about whether the 145-pound division will continue on, at least at a championship level. And there's clearly more options for her at 135 right now. Before we get into some of the big talking points and why your name has been brought up so much, what did you make of Amanda's performance against Megan and that unique submission she landed in? Because one, that's not being discussed enough, and two, she's just on this unbelievable run right now.
Right now, Amanda's on top of the world, and she's amazing. She's a great fighter. Megan went out, and unfortunately, she looked like she was terrified the entire time. I mean, you're already in there. You got to do it. But being that afraid, I think she got too much into her own head. But I could be wrong. And Amanda's amazing, but she needs an opponent that's not going to be scared of her.
I felt like the tide, on social media, you saw Megan walk in and she had the look on her face. And I was talking to Laura Sanko a few days afterwards, and she said sometimes they film those shots 2 or 3 times. So sometimes that's frustration peeling over and not really fear. So when she came in and walked to the octagon, I was like, all right, she actually looks like she's ready to go. But that first shot that Amanda landed, it changed everything. Is that what you saw as well? Or did you feel like she was kind of out of the fight before it even began?
I saw the trepidation before it began. I think she was a little bit out of it mentally before it began. But as I said, I could be wrong.
Of course, one of the names that has been put at the forefront of these discussions is your good friend Julianna Pena. She submitted Sarah McMahon in her last fight. She was scheduled to fight Holly Holm later on this year. That fight's no longer happening. So Julianna has been very vocal about wanting this title shot with Amanda at 135. She's feeling that she deserves this opportunity. She's a fresh matchup, etc. She's been doing a bunch of interviews, cutting some promos, and she really wants this fight. What have you made of her presence over the last couple of weeks and her belief that she deserves this next title shot?
And she's doing what everything that she needs to do to get the most attention possible for it. She's trying to get all kinds of things. I think I heard a rumor that she wanted a tough show against Amanda, but I highly doubt that will happen. So she's promoting herself in the best way that she can, probably. But the thing is, she doesn't make the decisions Amanda does. And Amanda just fought at 45. She doesn't fight often. And if she's coming back down to 35, especially if they're going to ask the 45 division, it's going to be a long time before that fight even materializes. And in that case, she definitely needs to be fighting me before she fights Amanda.
Dana White was asked about this fight right after UFC 259. In my eyes, like I felt like Dana thought it was an option, but it didn't seem like anything he was like jumping up and down about. He just said, yeah, we could make that fight. So, I mean, if, like you said, if we're up to you, you think the fight between you and Julianna would make the most sense. Maybe we determine a number one contender. That makes the most sense in your eyes.
Absolutely. I mean, nobody really knows. Well, there's some things going on with the other people in the top 5 and the ones that are ranking above me and below me. So everybody's either got a dance partner, a medical problem, or is holding out for who knows what with their contract. So it's the only fight that makes sense. And by the time I'm back, so I haven't been very vocal, obviously, because I'm recovering from a major knee surgery. So I just went to the PI. I've been rehabbing for months, and I'm at the point now where I have a timeline of when I'll be back. And by that time, I highly doubt that fight will have materialized. And it makes no sense. It makes no sense for her to jump ahead and get the fight just because she's talking a little trash. But you know how the game works.
I do know how the game works. And she is a fresh matchup. But, just kind of looking at the rankings in the division, you got you at number 3. There's Jermaine Durandamy at number 1, who has wins over Julianna and has a win over you, but she's lost to Amanda twice. But when I talked to Jermaine after she submitted Julianna, she said, I will put my career on the line to fight Amanda one more time. Like if I get in there, fight her for the belt and lose, I will retire right there and then. Obviously, Holly's dealing with some stuff. Irina Aldana just lost to Holly, and Yana Kunitskaya, who you beat, is the only fighter on a win streak in the top 6 right now. So there's a lot of moving parts right now, right? Like this has got to be kind of interesting. You sitting on the outside looking to get back, watching this division try to shape up.
We'll see how Yana's next fight goes, because depending on that one, maybe they'll decide to match make that victor if they don't do Pena. But who knows? Yana's doing great. So I think people look at her as an easy fight when they definitely shouldn't. She's on a streak right now. I'm saying that because I might have possibly had a fight booked and that person decided to take another fight first, assuming that person's going to be an easy fight, and she's definitely not going to be. What
do you mean?
I can't necessarily give the name, but there's not that many of us in the top. Like, you can probably figure it out.
Fair enough.
Not fighting her now.
All right. That makes sense. What did you think of Julianna's performance against Sarah? I mean, Sarah's one of the best wrestlers in the division. Were you impressed with that performance, her ability to get to that position and get the stoppage in the 3rd round?
Sarah's an incredible athlete, an incredible wrestler. She's one of the best in the world at what she does, but she's never translated over too well to MMA. Obviously, I was preparing to fight for before I got injured. Her problem is when it starts getting tough, she tends to break. So Julianna went out with a perfect game plan, essentially what ours was beforehand, and she won the fight. I was not shocked by the outcome at all. I think they're both great fighters, and obviously McMahon is wonderful at what she does, but she just doesn't quite translate to MMA.
What I was thinking about the other day is like when Julianna was going on the media tour, I was just like, what would piss a lot of people off and probably appeal to Amanda? If you just came back and said, you know what, my knee's good, I'll go up to 145 and fight Amanda for that title. Like Amanda would probably prefer that if we're being honest, so she doesn't have to cut that extra weight. That'd be some pretty cool chess moves right there.
I'd prefer that. I mean, but it's not easy making 35, and I know for Amanda it isn't. But I heard rumors they're going to get rid of the entire 45 division. What do you know about that?
I know that reports came out, like Megan was on her Twitch channel and she said that they're getting rid of the division. Now, there is a fight coming up in May between Felicia Spencer and Danielle Wolf, but from everything that I've been told, there is no discussion to get rid of the division as a whole, and it's going to be around as long as Amanda wants to keep defending both titles, which she does want to do at this point. So, if she has the option to defend 145 or go down to 135, something tells me she's going to prefer the former,
That's not even an option. I mean, if she had, the problem is she's lacking contenders, but she's lacking them in both. And the other problem is a lot of the 35 chicks, like look at the 45 division and or the 45 tough show. Every single one of those women that came through, they dropped. It's like you just need legitimate fights at 45. I don't know. I would like to fight both. I always have.
So if you came back and the UFC approached you saying, listen, Amanda wants to fight at 45, why don't you hop up and fight her? I'm sure you're jumping on that, right?
Absolutely. Obviously, I'd like to have the Julianna fight first, or one of the other women. But If they came out and said, "Hey, you want this fight?" It was like, well, shit, send me back on the horse. All right.
If they book Nunes and Pena next for the bantamweight title, how do you think that plays out?
I think Julianna is a more legitimate contender than anybody she's fought recently. I think she has a little. It'll be the grappling that brings it in. With Amanda, her only thing that she's ever showed, in my opinion, is a little bit of lacking cardio, and when she gets to the ground, it's not really all that fast paced. So I think Julianna has a better shot. Do I think she'll come out victorious? No.
But do you think her style and stuff could pose some threats?
Of course, but anybody at that level can pose some threats. It's just who's going to have the better night.
That's a good point. If they make that fight, I'm sure, I mean, there's options for you. Obviously, we just ran down a whole bunch of them, but I mean, I'm sure you'd love to run it back with Jermaine. There's Irene, maybe Holly down the road whenever she's ready to come back. What sort of sticks out to you if the Pena fight isn't there for you next?
It was Raquel Pennington. Just would have always wanted to fight her. I just think it'd be a fun fight. And so I'm still fairly young in the sport, right?
Right.
Before I ever made UFC or I was watching these chicks fight, it's like, I want to fight you, you, and you. So it'd be cool to get some of those like OG matches, you know?
Kind of go in there and get those stripes, right? Get some of those names on the resume.
Pretty much, but it's not even that. So they're all legit. But with Raquel, she'll stand there and she'll bang, and I love that kind of fight. Like, it's not going to be a chase 'em. It'll be a brawl. So That's why I was potentially that one, but who knows how everything was going to work out.
Yeah, it's an interesting time right now. Luckily for you, you've been able to keep yourself very busy with this time off. Like, I saw you have a YouTube channel. You got the website, theaspenladd.com. Let the folks know about these projects. What can they expect if they go to the YouTube page or go to the website? What can they find at either? Yeah,
so when you're forced to sit out for months on end due to surgery and rehab and all that stuff, you need to stay busy. But it really opened my eyes to the lack of, not just in my own life, but branding, self-promotion. And a lot of fighters, at least people that I know personally, don't really attend any of that. It's just other people in their life, they basically, they take, but they don't set you up kind of thing. Fighters have to look out for their own future and their own after fighting, basically. You need to set yourself up. So in the time I've been off, I've been working on self-promotion, branding, YouTube, website, everything that I should have done years ago, but never really had the time to do. It's a new journey.
So in a weird way, like, obviously getting injured is not great. It's terrible. But at the same time, in a weird way, deep down, is this kind of like a blessing in disguise in a way, because it opened these doors for you that maybe you wouldn't have walked through had this injury not occurred?
I've definitely met some neat people. You're definitely a silver linings kind of guy, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah. So there's been some good that's come out of it, but I don't ever want to do this again. I'll tell you that much.
That's true. But at least you've set yourself up in some ways, you know, either way, right? At least keeps you busy, like between fights too. Like if, you know, you have a fight, you got a few weeks off, you got some stuff to work on.
Oh, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I have it all set up now because it's very time consuming.
What's so what are some of the things that you're doing for that? If, like, in terms of the branding, the self-promotion, like what sort of in particular are you working on? What can people find kind of at the top of the list?
Right now, so it's a little bit different because I'm starting to come back into fighting now. I'm going to be getting into camp pretty soon. So the time's going down. For me, it's really finding good people and having good people around you. I'm not just talking like sponsorships, promotions. I'm talking about people that look out for your best interests financially. So it's like you if you have an injury, you go to a doctor, right? If you have money and you need to do something with it, you go to an investor, you go to an accountant, somebody that knows better than you. So there's people that do this in branding and in MMA. I think it's really just connecting with the right people. For me, I work a lot with Amanda Nunes, and she's done very, very good. And it's having somebody that looks out for your best interest and is able to put the pieces together in a way that you might not necessarily think about. So that's not what I do. I'm a fighter. So it's really going out and connecting with the right people and then moving forward as a team.
That's so beneficial for you to learn these lessons at a young age. Cause I mean, I talk to fighters who are in their upper 30s, early 40s. They haven't figured this part of it out yet. So that's huge for you to figure this out now.
Shoot, I'm figuring it out as I go, but it feels better to have started.
Did I see that there's another member of the Ladd family that's about to get a fighting career started? Did I see you have a brother who's about to debut? When is this happening?
Yeah, that is my giant little brother who's going to be fighting at 205 this time. Shayla, it's in 2 weeks. So he's been wanting to fight forever, and he turned 18 in December. And since then, we've been trying to get a fight with COVID, it's been hard. But he finally has one in Utah, so we're all road tripping out there. It's going to be awesome.
Nice. How long has he been in the game training and getting himself ready, at least for the 18th birthday to roll along so he could have this opportunity to fight?
Oh, God, he started karate when he was young, and he's been going to the gym with me forever. So Shayler's been doing it for probably 5 or 6 years now, at least.
Is he still in school?
What was that?
Is he still in school?
He is. He's a senior, though. He's finishing up. But with COVID, I don't know if he's ever going to get to go back to actual school. So I hope he does, because last year he was doing really good in wrestling. So he's been doing MMA and karate forever. He got into wrestling, did great. And then he just couldn't do it anymore because everything shut down.
Good on him. We wish him the best of luck. By the way, Fluffy Hernandez, what a performance. What a fight. I think I'm trying to remember February, I believe. What an upset. No one gave him a chance to win. He goes out there and submits a former multi-time ADCC champion. I mean, that must have been ridiculous for you to watch. What did you think of Anthony's performance and what it has led to? The bonus and him being able to help his family out, give the kids the house they wanted is what he told me. What was that like for you to see him have that moment?
At this point, Fluffy's basically one of my other brothers. We've been together forever. It was it's hard to even describe. It's he's one of the ones where he fights, and I feel like I'm going to throw up the entire time. I'm fine fighting myself, but if I really care about somebody, it's really, really bad. A couple of weeks in Utah is going to be really, really bad. So it was a huge sigh of relief and just being extremely happy. He's okay, yay. So that's basically what it felt. I can't. It's hard, man.
When he got taken down, we were just uh-oh. And then he was able to get back to his feet, and you saw that, his opponent was super tired, and Anthony started getting off. He was landing those big shots, but he wouldn't go down, and finally gets a submission. I was just man, this is such a wild ride. So for you, is it more nerve-wracking for you watching teammates, family, etc. fight as opposed to when you fight?
Way harder. And no, I wasn't shocked when he got his submission. That is what we call it, the fluffy teen at the gym. He's been doing that in his fights forever. He gets everybody with it. But I did hear, I believe in his corner, Jim and everybody, no, don't do it. But he got it.
Unbelievable. That was a great performance. You obviously have a lot going on these days, Aspen. I appreciate the time very much. Looking forward to this return. Anything else you want to let the folks know about before we wrap this thing up?
Just a huge thank you for having me on, and you guys will be seeing me back soon, and hopefully against Pena, but we'll see if she gets what she wants.
Any message you want to send Julianna's way before you say goodbye?
I've made it this long without talking trash. I think I'm going to keep it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, thank you, Aspen. All the best in the final stage of your recovery. Hopefully see you back there this summer at some point.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.